One of the hardest concepts in chess is figuring out what to do in a position when there's nothing to do, i.e. win material or threaten material. How do we improve without collapsing our own position? In this video, I'm going to show you guys just that. So let's dive in. Let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning of the game like usual, and I'm going to point out some extra tips along the way. We have the Italian game here, very basic stuff. And like I said, I played this game with a student of mine, a new student, and we were playing along with the theme of how simple chess can be, and I was trying to play the most basic, simple, chess possible. Now, on the game review, I played this game at a 2400 level, and the computer actually played at a 2000 level, according to the engine. But in this game, we did nothing spectacular or genius level. We didn't play any brilliant moves or anything like that to win the game. So here, A3, I discussed this a lot, and this opening is important because if I don't play A3 and I simply castle, he's going to trap my bishop. When I say trap my bishop, I don't mean win my bishop. I'm still going to get his knight, but we don't want to give up this bishop in the Italian game. It's a strong bishop, and you'll see why later. So for that reason, I play A3. Now if he comes here, I have a home on A2 for my bishop. Okay, so my opponent castles, and I play H3, just keeping flexibility. I can castle either kingside or queenside. I say don't make unnecessary pawn moves, but in this position, I'm already basically finished my development almost. I just have to castle. So I'm already there. Okay, my opponent plays bishop d7, and his idea eventually is going to reroute the bishop and attack this way. More common is just coming to e6. So bishop d7 is an inaccuracy, but again, you're not going to lose any games or win any games because of bishop d7. All right, so I castled, and my opponent comes to d5. This happens all the time. So try to remember this position right here. This happens all the time. The knight comes down here, and it's not really good for black. It's not bad, but there's an easy way to handle it. So first you take with the bishop. Now he took with the pawn. He took with the bishop. If he takes with the pawn, we simply attack the pawn twice, and then he'll have to defend it like this maybe, or actually even better is playing d5 in the center, counterattack. And right here it doesn't work because the queen is not covering it because this bishop is misplaced. But usually the queen is here and can cover that in conjunction with the knight. However, my opponent after I took the knight, took with the bishop, and I took with the knight. And after he takes, same concept though, I move away and attack. So you want to move away, defend, and attack. You want to mix defense and attack in chess. So very simple. So I attack the pawn here, and my opponent plays b5. Now c5 is pretty much more straightforward, and he does eventually play that. But first he throws in b5, a counterattack, attacking my bishop. Obviously I can't take, or I'll lose my bishop. So I come back here. And now is the time for you guys to subscribe if you like the channel and you don't want to miss out on any further content. Just got to remind you there. All right, anyway, we play c5 here. The opponent plays c5, just simply defending the pawn. I finished my development with rook d1. My rook wasn't developed yet. Again, the game of chess should not really start until you finish your development. I'm playing against an advanced chess bot here. 1800 is serious business. Even as a higher rated player, if I fall asleep and get content against the 1800 player, I could lose the game. Okay, so bishop c6, just rerouting the bishop and putting it on a big diagonal aimed at my king. Not a bad idea. Okay, and here my student wanted to play knight f4, and that's not a bad move. I think knight f4 has a lot of merit to it. And the idea was, since this bishop pins the pawn, the knight can come here at some point, and the pawn can't take, which is great and all, but is it really, there's nothing concrete here right away that if the knight comes here, like you're attacking the rook can just move, and then your knight's kind of stuck there. So I said, I was explaining to my student, and I often say this a lot in videos, that knight f5 is a really strong square for the knight. And if you're playing with the black pieces, it would be f4. So here I played knight g3 because my knight's good here, and it's poised to jump into f5, maybe even h5 if I have to, but I really want to come to f5. So, and if he plays something like g6, he can't to stop f5 because the queen will come in and take on h6 and just open up the king completely. Okay, so the king moves to h7. Okay, this bot is 1800. All right, so he knows what's going on here. He knows his pawn's pinned. He wants to get out of that, and he wants to step up into the pocket. When your pawns move forward, your king actually kind of wants to move forward too with them. So the pawns are always close to the king. It just keeps a more solid defense for the king position. Okay, so I jump into f5 here, and my opponent plays d5. Now, again, this is very informative. If I take here, I totally open up the position, and all of a sudden, we're going to have a series of exchanges here, and maybe the queen gets in, and now you can see black is doing very well. It doesn't look like I'm pressuring black at all. In fact, black is pressuring me here. I'll have to defend this, come back, and now black can finish development, and black has a good game here. There's no reason to give black that type of counterplay. So how do I push forward and keep the initiative? My student actually found this move, and it's a good move, and it's actually just pushing forward, right? Pushing forward, attacking the knight, not giving any counterplay. We're keeping black on their toes, and we're gaining more space over the chessboard. Black defends and attacks like he should. Now, I don't want to make a committal move too soon, like f4. I'd rather play a move like finish my development completely, get my rook into an open file behind my pawn. I can always play f4 later if I have to. So I play rook e1, and now comes rook e7, rook e8, excuse me. Now, I have to defend, right? Because now he's attacking it twice. So now I play f4. Now again, could I defend with the queen? Sure, but I don't want to put my queen opposite to a person's rook. This would be a mistake. Not to mention, even if there weren't tactics, he can continue piling up, and I'll have to play f4 eventually anyway. So I play f4. My opponent comes back here. I guess waiting, just adding more defense to the king position. And now here I can jump into this great square. So the first thing we have to realize is what are holes in your opponent's position? This should be a gaping hole. You should see this as a gaping hole in your opponent's position. Why? Well, knights like to be pushed far up the board. In fact, the sweet spot for knights, even better than f5 or this rank, is the 6th rank. Knights want to be anchored by a pawn because what's the point of pushing them all the way up the board if you just get kicked out again? It's kind of like playing chutes and ladders at that point. And we don't want to play chutes and ladders. I don't think anyone plays it anymore. But knight d6 is a move we want to look at because there's no dark square bishop to take away the knight. And this knight would have trouble chopping it off because it's just misplaced. It would have to do a lot of dancing work. It would take too many moves. But the thing is, I don't have to go there yet. There's nothing forcing me to go there yet. If he kicks me out, sure, I'll go there. But I don't have to go there. There's nothing stopping me from going there, so I'm just going to wait. So here, what do we do in this position? We have a better position. I'm sure even if you're not super experienced at chess, you just feel, you have the intuition that white is better here. Now, black is most of his pieces are on the back rank. We have more space. Our knight's in good position. But what do? We don't want to mess up the position, right? We want to move forward, but oftentimes moving forward could destruct our position, right? We could self-destruct. So we want to be very nuanced with our approach. It takes a lot of subtlety. Now, what do we do here? We look for pieces that we can just improve. Okay, my queen, my rook's on an open file behind my pawn. My knight's great. My bishop is hitting into this, but it's on the best diagonal it could be. If it comes here, that's ridiculous. So everything's pretty much good. My queen, however, can't go anywhere this way, right? And my queen can't really go anywhere this way. So I just simply improve my queen. Now, queen f2, eyes on going to the king side, and it could start delivering threats like checkmate. Now, he can block, but this is much better than my queen just staying here, not being able to go anywhere. So my opponent goes back to d7. Again, my opponent doesn't really know what's going on here. But now white is actually up +3. Now, again, we're up +3, so we're absolutely winning in this position. But we're up no material, and a lot of players, I couldn't blame them, would not really have a clear path to move forward here. What do you do? This is the common question. Now, I could jump into d6, and that's a good move. You're attacking the rook. Your knight wants to be here anyway. But I don't have to jump there right away. I want to stretch black's defenses out further and create weaknesses and just first, keep this knight here to create more threats, as many threats as I can, because it is close to the king. And then when I have to, I'll come here. So with that in mind, I just simply improve my queen again, threaten checkmate. And now my opponent has to deal with checkmate. So my opponent blocks with g6. When my opponent blocks with g6, two things happen. I create weaknesses on the dark squares. Now, the pawn was here, and now since it moved, it's no longer covering the squares it was back here. That's how we know what the weaknesses that we created are, right? So, but now also my knight's being attacked. So now I have to move my knight. So now when it's time, I move the d6. Now I'm hitting the rook. It's on a great square, my knight. Everything's good. My opponent moves. And now what do we do to push forward? Now, you can see all my pieces are in great positions. They're in at least in as good of positions as they're ever going to be. So I don't want to ruin the harmony of my pieces. Maybe I can double the rooks. That would be that's a legit way to go. But here I played the best move. Here I just move forward because I took advantage of the rook not being on the e file. So I simply push forward. Now the idea is I always look at the two options my opponent has. First of all, I'm attacking the knight. So if my opponent passes and decides not to take, I'll just win the game on the spot. And if my opponent takes, I'm developing my rook even further, improving it into the game where it's attacking again. We're attacking mating threats and everything, and we also can double easily on the e file. So it's just a natural way to progress the position. The best move is probably just move the knight. I thought he was going to go to f6. He moved to b6. And now I played e7. e7 isn't the best move, but it's a good move. Well, it's a decent move. The computer thinks it's a mistake because the computer liked this better, and I totally understand that. Actually, my student actually found that move. But e7 still maintains the advantage, and it's forking the queen and rook. Now, what happens is the only way black can survive here is black has to take the knight, which he did, and I take the rook with the knight and promote to a knight. Why do I promote to a knight? Because it's with check. If I promote to a queen, he's going to take anyway, so I just promote to a knight. It's a more forcing way to promote. So we got a rook for a knight and a pawn, so we are up material. So now, what do we do here again now? It looks like we don't have a clear way to progress the position. A lot of players, it's 50-50 whether they win this game or not. But becoming a better chess player, we have to squeeze water out of a stone. We have to, and that's kind of an exaggeration here because it's not exactly squeezing water out of a stone. This is actually a better position for white. We just have to know how to move forward without hurting our position. So again, our bishop's good, our queen's good, our rooks, this rook is good. This rook is hitting its own pawn. So we want this rook to be here. So we can do something like this, or the same thing as we put our rook here and then this rook here. Basically, double the rooks on the open file. So that's what I decided to do. And my opponent played g5, which is not a good move. I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it, but it's not a good move. But again, we still have to play precise chess here. If I take, I lose my queen, and all the good moves that we played are for naught because now we lost. So what do we do here? I simply take time out and defend my pawn. Now, if he takes with the queen, he loses his queen. If he takes with the pawn, I would simply take back, and he messed up his king position. But his king position's already messed up from this. So after I defend on rook f1, he plays f5. Now, f5 is a really bad move because now you're weakening the king even more. Now the king has no defense laterally. So if a rook ever came here, it's check, and now you don't want the pawns in front of your king to be wandering off. So what do you do here? Now here I just simply, my rook's doing a job here now, right, because of this pawn. This rook's on an open file, but now you can see my queen is kind of stuck, not doing anything. So how do we get the queen to do something and still continue the idea, the concept of doubling on this file? When you think about that, the move isn't so hard to find. Queen e1 doubles on this file. It throws a lot of threats at black. And in fact, black moved back to his king, didn't know what to do here. And now we have we're +5 actually in this position. And we're up like a small amount of material. But here, what's the move that pretty much takes over the game? These are the moves you have to find. We don't have any forcing moves. That's the top hierarchy of what we're thinking when we move. We look at forcing moves, then threatening moves, then improving moves. Here in this position, I found a forcing/threatening move. Threatening to win the queen. It's more of a threatening move. And I'm also attacking the pawn with check. My opponent moves out of the way. I take the pawn. My opponent moves out of check and attacks my rook. Now we can move the rook out of the way, but we like where the rook is. Is there a way where we can just keep the rook here, defend the rook, and win material? There is. I simply take on g5 and defend the rook, and I won another pawn. So now my opponent threatens my queen and improves their rook, and now my student found this move again. It's the best move. How do you get the queen to safety? The most active way possible and find the most active square. So it's not just defensive, like we're not just moving here and playing defensive, or like this would be the complete opposite of what I'm talking about, right? That's defensive and passive. But we find the most active square, and that's queen h4. Now we're defending that attack, but we're also going on the offensive. We're threatening check, winning the queen. So my opponent was back. I pushed the pawn here, just taking more squares away from the king. So he can't come here. He can't come here because of the queen. And now, after this move, we simply win the queen. And we went on to win the game after these ridiculous moves. But anyway, hopefully you guys found that video helpful. A lot of times, this is a common problem with most chess players, how to advance the position when there's nothing to, quote, do. And if you like this video, please make sure you check out this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. I'll catch you guys next time. Go play some chess.